So, I mean, just in our small panel of people, there's completely different ways of defining your business. And I think the key learning here is that you actually need to do the work. You need to define what your business model is going to be and be very clear about that. I just want to show you, there's a slide here called the business model canvas. This is essentially a technique, and I'm sure, Travis, you're probably very well versed in this kind of thing. Have you used one for your business?
Not for we didn't use this model for our business, but I've done courses before where they've taught this before. Yeah, so I know the sheet.
Yeah, it's essentially a great way of getting a bird's eye view of your entire business idea. And, I'm not going to drill down into the specifics of doing this. Google it, and there's loads of information online about it. But essentially, the thing to remember about any business is that it's never static, especially anything in sort of digital these days. The industry is constantly evolving, and something like this can help provide you with a bit of a roadmap that you can come back to at various times, whether it's a crisis or whether it's technological change or the sector's changing, or simply to reinvigorate the business. This is an ongoing tool that you can use, and it's going to put you in a good position to respond to ever-changing conditions.
Yeah, I might just add there that the beauty of that is that it doesn't have to be a 30-page document.
Exactly.
That it is on one page, and I know for a lot of creative people, it's good to have everything on the one page.
Yes.
And because we work in a very fluid environment, a very fluid industry, having it on one page means that it can be updated very simply. A 30-page document, maybe not so much. So it works very well for that.
That's something, if I may speak to that, that we, like I said, we've been doing this for 3 years. When we started, we thought we were making a 6-week mobile project. So yeah.
3 years later.
And the amount of things that we've had to pivot on in our, we haven't even released our game yet, our first game, and we have changed our core business strategy so many times. We have these pillars that we stand by, but for example, when we started Armello, it was going to be free to play. We were like, let's do free to play. And then during development, Ty, one of the other directors, and myself were working in free to play, and we were like, you know what, free to play is maybe not a fit for Armello. And then at the same time, the free-to-play market totally just was invaded by the giants, and so it's now when you look at the App Store, it's like all the free-to-play is Zynga, EA, all the big guys, and we don't have the advertising dollar to buy our way into the charts like a lot of these people do. That's the business model, right?
Yeah.
And so we actually pivoted from free-to-play to premium, and we've changed project management software 4 times, went from Trello to Teambox to all these different things, and that's just a couple of instances. We changed the way we work from sprints through to crunch periods with a little bit of a break. It's nuts, and we've had to do that because we're sort of charting a course with this new business model, and it's super important that we knew our pillars. We wrote up this thing that was our indie dream, and it's the sort of pillars are that we own everything, that everyone gets profit share, that we get to remain financially independent as well as creatively independent. And so as long as we have those things that are those cores, we can move very fluidly around those.
Yeah, and having something like the business model canvas and a business plan and a very clear strategy as to what you're doing obviously allows you to then put aside the sort of logistics of what the business is and focus on the creativity of making a game without having to sort of juggle all this stuff in your head at the same time.
Can I also add that I never wrote a business plan until the first time we actually applied for any grants. So we kind of sort of did when we went to become a limited company, but it sounds like don't get het up on it having to be page and page of documents. You need a really strong idea, and you need to make sure you know what your team is capable of, what your strengths and weaknesses are, and together what your goal is going to be. That's kind of the fundamentals of the business plan. Yeah, and then how you're going to turn what you're doing into making money.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a really scary bit of paper, but if you know what you're doing and you know what you want to do, that's kind of the start of your business plan.
Yeah, it's kind of that moment that sets you free to go out
and I think it's important what Monica touched on as well, the amount of it's probably when we're forced to do a business plan because we've got a Screen Australia deadline in 5 days. You have discussions that you never. It's oh, you want to do? I don't want to do that, dude. Let's. Oh, really? And then it's you have these. You duke it out and you sort of figure out this roadmap for it. And of course, you're talking we did a business plan and we did projected sales data, and then we had a scotch to celebrate our projected sales data. It's like, you can be talking years in the future, but it's good to have those discussions and sort of see where your roadmap can go, right?
Yeah, and I think that, and the key thing is to keep coming back to it and going, wow, that's where we said we were going to go, and this is where we've ended up.
Yeah,
and it might be, less than a year.
I don't want to bog us down either, but I think agility is key. Like the fact that, and especially at this one page, like you say, quick to update your business plan, even if it's not on paper or something, agility is the reason why, or lack of agility is the reason why all of these big studios shut down, is because as soon as those changes started hitting the industry in faster iterations than a 7-year console generation, then all of those studios could not pivot. They couldn't change, they couldn't react to it, and this is the reason why indies can come through, because they're so small, they're so agile. This is why you're seeing things like mini publishers that are a publishing house, but that aren't so big that they can't pivot. So it's totally important. Like when we would change project management software, I would have to rewrite 300 tasks or something and then transfer them across over to it's the most boring job, but it was super important to us as a studio. It was like, we just need to get on this, and if we're going to do it, we need to make the decision now and then just keep moving forward. And I think that's super important, is that agility with your business plan and with your goals. And if things shift in the industry or change, not to be afraid to just go, we got to change, we got to move, change direction quickly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
I mean, it's like game design, because in game design, when you're making something, the rules are going to change, or you got a great idea, and you put it in and go, that's really boring, that doesn't work. You need to change it. You can't be rigid and say, this is my business plan, I'm just going to stick to it, I'm going to do it no matter what. If something changes, the market changes, a new device comes out, you've got to keep reassessing it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and that is the power of being an indie, really. I mean, that's the bonus. That is the bonus of being an indie, that you can be agile and you can move according to the customer changes.